So there are a couple recent suicides that actually just happened over the Christmas break. So the recent suicides, these are young kids, young people who are just blowing their fucking heads off and not saying there's like, fuck life, who gives a shit? There's no hope for me. People want to say they're cowardly. It's not cowardly, you know. In some respects it'd be cowardly if you wanted to do it and didn't do it. And you could say it's selfish. I think that's okay. You know, everybody does things in their self-interest. But ultimately, it says that they had a situation they were confronted with and they saw no way out. They saw no way out. They didn't know what else to do. They had nobody to turn to, nobody to talk to. They had no options. And they said, fuck life. I'm going to fucking blow my fucking brain out. This is Emily Grace Olson. She had shot herself. She is in Fairfield Middle School in Ohio. She's a seventh grader. And she killed herself in her family's home. And the father is saying that there was abuse. There was abuse, or there was bullying that was happening. There's bullying that happened when the sixth grade. It was racist. She's Asian, so they had to, they had to endure that that sort of bullshit, right? So they said they reported it to the school. The school said they went through their proper motions or whatever, but the bullying continued. It still kept on going. And so I mean, look at her. She looks, she was intelligent, made straight A's. She's, beautiful, right? So the world should have been her oyster. She should have looked at life, especially in America, the greatest country in the world, the most freedom and most prosperous nation in the world. And yet she says that there was no options, and she blew her head off. So Mean Girls, bullying, this issue just keeps coming up over and over again. When I was younger, I remember actually two eighth graders and a senior had shot themselves, and this was in Gallatin County, Kentucky. And I'm also going to talk about Ray Etheridge, Miranda Campbell, and Harley Reagan Carter. All these are young people who are blowing their heads off, who are killing themselves, overdosing with pills, or however it may be. They are choosing, saying, fuck life, there is no hope for me, I'm just going to shoot myself, I'm just going to say, to hell with it all. And that's unfortunate. Emily Grace Olson did not deserve to die. She didn't deserve to be bullied. And frankly, I put the blame right on the school system, right on the educational system. At no point do they tell the students to stand up for themselves. They're supposed to be shut up, be obedient, be compliant. And when you're telling people to be obedient, be compliant, you're telling them to have no power for themselves, not to stand up for themselves. Not to stand up for themselves, don't, have no power. Just be a 0% power for yourself, 100% obedient. Well, how do you be obedient to someone who's just bullying, just to be a sadistic psycho, just to pick on you for no reason? She's straight A student, so she's doing what the damn teachers are telling her to do, and then she's getting bullied off to the side. And, when I think about these things, about who the bullies are, I think, Julie Chance, Elizabeth Rogers, Mary Beth Flynn Wilson, Herndon. You have in the educational field, most of them are, white women. And there are, there's a whole array of people, so you can't point individuals. But when I think of those teachers, they are the mean girls. Have you ever seen the movie Mean Girls? They're just shitty and mean for no fucking reason whatsoever. Well, the mean girls are the teachers. The teachers are the bullies, and the bullies cannot see when other people are being bullied, or they say, hey, I don't want to deal with this because I just want your compliance. So you just shut your mouth and you just sit in that chair and you do as I tell you what to do. And that's ridiculous. That's not educating our children. That's not sitting there, you actually have 15 million synapses when you're born, and then it gets pruned down to 5 million synapses. So when you're a baby, when you're a toddler, you're actually smarter and capable of learning. You have more potential to learn and take in all this new information than when you're 10 and beyond. So we are blowing an opportunity. We keep on messing up our the education establishment doesn't teach democracy, doesn't teach democratic values, to tolerate other people's opinions, to be able to stand up and to speak up for yourself. We're not doing that. You don't want them to stand up for themselves, because if they stood up and standing up for themselves, they might tell the teachers, hey, you need to stop bullying us too. But it's so clear to me, 100% compliance is what teacher training schools, how to teach like a champion. That's what they're doing. They're classroom managing, shut up, sit down, do as I tell you. And then when you have no humanity, the slaves are more likely to attack each other. So the mean girls are just a byproduct of a combination of forces. Maybe their own parents are crappy, or maybe they're being oppressed by their own parents. But the slaves are more likely to attack each other. And when they do that, they're reconstituting who they are. They're developing themselves, their humanity. They're trying to say, hey, we're oppressed too, and the way that they get their jollies is by, picking on poor Emily Grace Olsen. What did she do? Did she hurt anybody? Did she go around hurting people? Is this a psycho? Is this the person, people need to be afraid of? We need to be afraid of her? No, absolutely not. Emily Grace Olsen didn't do a goddamn thing to anybody. All she wanted was to get a good education, to do well in life. That's all her parents wanted to do, but the school officials didn't give a shit about the bullying. They didn't stop it. They didn't keep an eye out for it. And so eventually, because a bully doesn't respect a tattletale, right? So you have to stand up for yourself. And unless the school's willing to let the students to start standing up for themselves, which they don't do, if you get into a fight, both of you are going to be suspended or kicked out or punished because both of y'all are just in the wrong. Bullshit. If I'm by the tree and I'm reading peacefully and somebody comes up and starts saying, hey, bitch, you want to fight? My honor and dignity is being, called out. If I ran away, you think that bullying would just stop? Absolutely not. If I ran away, it just says that I'll accept the bullying. So you have to stand up for yourself. Like Ender's Game, you got to stand up for yourself. And so they didn't tell her to stand up for herself. They tried to do some little show trial. Yeah, we went ahead and told them, don't do that, right? But they didn't watch them. What's happening in the lunchroom? What's happening in the hallways? They ain't paying attention to any of this. And what's happening in social media? They're mean girls and they're bullying Emily Grace Olsen. And so she went home that night and blew her head off. There's several of these incidents that's happening. And it wasn't just here in Fairfield Middle School, but it's Ohio, so it's kind of close, to Kentucky. An adopted Asian girl who was a Fairfield Middle School student fatally shot herself last week, and her father now disputes police and school officials claim that she was not racially bullied. Well, okay, the officials said they weren't bullied, so, we'll just fucking believe them. Fuck them. They're the fucking bullies, and they fucking know it. So they didn't give a shit. They said they have no record of 7th grade Emily Grace Olsen reporting any bullying by classmates. She reported it in 6th grade. She already said something. How many times she got to fucking report something? And then if it doesn't get, change doesn't happen after you report it, you're supposed to keep on telling the same fucking assholes that shit's happening. I remember this one incident when I was working at in Mason County. I was working at a some recycling plant, some assembly line manufacturing kind of crap job. But this guy kept on fucking with me. Calling me faggot, calling me stupid, just giving me all these stupid, dirty looks and shit. And then eventually, he said something to me, and I just fucking charged at him, and I just started hitting him. And they, told me to go home that day, but because he was bullying, I was allowed to keep my job. They put me in a different spot. But had I not stood up for myself, I had told him that he was being a fucking dick. And they were like, oh, okay, whatever. No, you need to do something about it right away. You need to do something about it now. Because that motherfucker just, they're doing it right now. You need to say something. Hey, stop bullying them. I remember Aziz Ansari said that he told a teacher about some bullying, and the teacher went up to the person and says, if you keep doing what you're doing, I will end you. I don't know what I'm going to end you means. It could be a death threat, right? End you, end your life, end your reputation. Who knows? What does that mean? But it was scary enough that the kid quit bullying. As the person that's in charge, if you expect 100% compliance, you can force the students to get along with each other. No, you two are going to be partners, and you're going to share each other, share stories and share a laugh with each other. You're going to be friends. God damn it, you're going to fucking be friends. If they cared. But they don't actually care about the students. They ignore their Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They ignore the teaching pyramid. They ignore equality, and they ignore the power and control circles. They don't give a shit. They're not actually educating the students. They're not actually teaching what they're supposed to be teaching. They're not teaching jack shit. They're not teaching what they're supposed to be teaching. They're not teaching us to be human. They're ignoring the human component of life. So does racial bullying spur girl suicide? The father thinks so. He's not trying to stir things up, but he wants some answers. Of course he does. She blew her head off. Why'd she do it? She was getting bullied and said, fuck it. She wanted to move out, and maybe the parents couldn't move her to somewhere else. School says you got to be compulsory. You must go to school, right? No, even homeschooling. You're allowed to homeschool them, but you got to play ball with the local board, right? Okay, we'll turn in a portfolio or some shit. Well, that's exactly right, because that's what the state is doing. They're taking your babies away and they're putting all that information into their head. And for what? For what reason? To make them better people so they get a good job, or just so they get to retain their power and their money? That's all they give a shit about, is their own power and their own money. They don't care about your kids. Are you kidding me? Why'd you teach my kid that stuff? Well, I don't know, just cause. Well, maybe you should teach them to actually, stand up for themselves. So, our RIP Emily Grace Olson, 13 years old, 7th grader in Ohio, Fairfield Middle School. Here's another. This is over the Christmas break. So actually there was 2 recent suicides that just happened. Okay, that was a recent one, but it was in Ohio. This is recent Kentucky suicide. So this is Reagan Carter, Harley Reagan Carter, out of Nelson County, Bardstown, which is close to Lexington, Kentucky. So Bardstown, Nelson County, Harley Reagan Carter, 12 years old. 12 years old. So this is, a 5th grader? What's 12? That would be maybe 6th, 7th grader. So again, a young female, about the same age, right? The same age. So Reagan Carter, Harley Reagan Carter, 12 years old. She's getting bullied. She takes a bunch of pills, and then she's dead 5 days later. The 18th, she tried to kill herself, and then the 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, she gets killed, or she dies, right? And she was getting bullied. And look at her. She's bright-eyed, look at the world with wonder, can't wait to go and make the world her oyster. And yet she goes to school, she does everything that she's told to do, but they're not saying be yourself, stand up for yourself, have some pride, be proud of yourself, keep them head and shoulders up. They're not saying any of that. And that's the only way you can deal with the bullies, by standing up to them. That's the only way. If you run and tell somebody else, then you'll always be reaching out for other people to solve your own problems. There is actually this one teacher tactic, or this teacher thing, where they had in China or Japan, where they would just let the bullying happen until the person stood up for themselves. And they showed this one video, and it was remarkable. It was a bunch of kindergartners, and this one boy kept on, wanting to share this, be around this one girl, and started wanting to be around it, and he was just like, just sitting there trying to be nice and trying to be friendly. And the girl was just shitty. Just always kept on taking stuff out of his hands, kept pushing him away. And he kept on going back. And then eventually another kid comes over to him, and then they go somewhere else. And then they start playing cooperatively together. So that was a situation that solved itself. He wanted friendship from a person who was an asshole. And so eventually a nice person came over to them, and then they played well. So he found himself a friend. The situation resolved itself. And I'm not saying that we should allow bullying and that it should go on. It should have been pointed out. But at the important part is that you make them stand up for themselves. You say that it's okay. So if she's just sitting there at a lunch table and somebody's like, hey, nice t-shirt you're wearing there, Miss Reagan Carter. Oh yeah, why don't you go fuck yourself? Nah, just seriously, go fuck yourself. Just go on outside and fuck yourself. Whatever. Just saying something back. Nice t-shirt you're wearing. Well, look at your shirt. It's fucking disgusting. You disgust me. I hate you. You're ugly on the inside and ugly on the outside. Saying something back. Being a person. Standing up for yourself. Okay? She's getting bullied. It is not her fault that she stands up. In the middle of a fight, in the middle of an argument, yeah, they both look like assholes. They both look like monsters. But somebody started it. She's sitting there quietly eating lunch, and then somebody just starts messing with her. That's bullshit. And she should be allowed to stand up for herself. That's bullshit. It's bullshit that they say that both of them would get suspended. So since that's an all or nothing, that's a zero tolerance policy, right? If you're involved in some altercation or argument or something, you get thrown out. So she's sitting there, hey, get bullied by the mean girls, by the teachers, whoever, right? Hey, nice t-shirt. Hey, nice t-shirt, right? Just the tone of it is just totally wrong, right? We're not learning democratic processes. We're not being taught to respect each other's opinion, to respect each other. No. Just give all due deference to the authority figures, but none to each other, none to yourselves. So she's just sitting there getting made fun of. She should be allowed to make fun of them back. And that may escalate the situation, but frankly, they started it. How do you stop them? I don't know how you can stop them. I don't know how you can stop somebody just being crappy to somebody else for no reason. But if you give them the power, You know, you couldn't stop that. That's going to happen, right? But it's not something we shrug our shoulders to. Oh, well, people are just going to punch each other. People are just going to shoot each other. Who gives a crap? You know, they're going to make fun of each other. Who cares? No, it matters. It's important. So if they started the bullying and then the arguing and then it goes to something else, they started it. The person who starts the fight is the one that is in the wrong. That's the person that's in the wrong. What did you do? Well, you know, I was making fun of her t-shirt. Well, why'd you do that? Well, I got issues too. There was you know, maybe that would actually open up the door to something else. We'd have a restorative circle and say, hey, we're all going to get along. What is going on here? Why are you sitting there making fun of somebody that didn't do anything to you? So, you know, R.I.P. Harley Reagan Carter out of Nelson County, Bardstown, Kentucky, just killed herself just recently. I hope we can start to realize that, you know, the children are our future. And we are, instead of just handing packets down and telling them to do this and do that, we start developing relationships. We start developing democratic practices. We start to teach the young people to stand up for themselves, to love themselves, to care about themselves, to be proud of themselves, and to, you know, go out and get what they want. You know, you are the number one person in your own show. You're the star. You're the main person, and you need to stand up and go get what you want to go get. And if somebody tries to stop you, if somebody tries to bully you when you ain't doing nothing, you need to say something back. I remember this one guy, Snake, up in Cincinnati. He was sitting there just being a dick to everybody, and he went to go be a dick to this truck driver, and the truck driver, you know, he wasn't going to put up with it. And he was like, well, I could just cut your balls off and put it into a fucking glass jar. And the guy was like, oh, you don't like my fucking bullying. My bad. Sorry. You don't like when I bully you. And it stopped him. It stopped him. Okay. So, you know, people want to say, well, cussing is bad. It's wrong. Fuck off. Being a bully is worse. You know, we need to start looking. We need to be serious about, you know, our society. This is ridiculous. The big four, there's no morality anywhere. You want to say cussing is immoral? Fuck you. You don't know shit. You know, saying fuck you to somebody, saying fuck you to somebody who cuts you off in traffic, saying fuck you to somebody who's bullying you, that's right and that's appropriate. Okay, the four biggest evils in this world: murder, stealing, rape, and violence. Those are the biggest four. Can we agree on those as a society? I would love to hear somebody agree with me on those, because I haven't heard it yet. It seems like everybody's doing their own things and playing by their own rules, and if you get away with it, good for you. But don't murder, don't hit, don't rape, and don't steal. That's the big four evils. Let's agree on that. You don't rape anybody, you don't murder anybody, you don't steal from anybody, and you don't hit anybody. Let's start with those things, okay? Bullying is illegal in Kentucky. It's illegal. You're not allowed to bully. There was a law passed in 2008. Here's the website, okay? Bullying assumes a variety of forms: direct physical or verbal actions that cause physical or emotional distress. Oh, well, what were you doing? I was just sitting here peacefully eating my dinner. And then what did she do? She started making fun of my t-shirt. Oh, that's not bullying. And look at your t-shirt. It's gay. You're gay. You shouldn't have wore that t-shirt. It's your fault. So much easier for a psychopath just to blame the victim instead of actually standing up for them or telling them to stand up for themselves. You know, we're ignoring Maslow's hierarchy. They don't give a shit about their entire being. They don't care about their whole person. You come into calculus class, shut your damn mouth and learn some calculus. Well, I'm homeless and I'm getting my ass kicked at home. Does that matter? Nah, fuck you. I don't care. Learn the calculus and one day you'll be a great, Isaac Newton. You'll be a great Isaac Newton and you discover lots of things. How am I going to do that when I don't even know if I'm going to eat or have a warm place to stay and I've been wearing the same clothes for a week? Who gives a shit? Fuck you. No, fuck you. Fuck you. You're supposed to be the adult. You sit there and tell everybody how they're supposed to behave and what they're supposed to do. And then once they do all the stupid shit that you say, you don't actually give a damn because you just want to manipulate people. So we're being educated by psychopaths who don't give a shit about anybody else. That's the problem. People don't love each other. People don't put themselves in other people's shoes. There's no empathy. Bullying assumes a variety of forms, including direct physical or verbal actions that cause physical or emotional distress. Indirect acts of social aggression designed to ruin a victim's personal reputation or social standing. So individual indirect acts of social aggression. So they're saying on the media, on website and Twitter and stuff, you're not allowed to say any of that. I mean, I don't know if criminalizing all this stuff is the solution, Because I think, conflict is inevitable, and so we should be learning how to get along with each other, how conflict happens, how we resolve it, and what we do to get to the next step. And I think if we look beneath the surface, there's probably some issues that's going on in the bully's life too. And if we actually started asking the students, well, what do you think? Well, then maybe we might just ask them, hey, what do you want to learn? Why don't we allow them to direct their own education, and they can become leaders right now. They can become leaders today. So indirect acts of social aggression designed to ruin a victim's personal reputation or social standing. Cyberbullying, the willful and repeated harm inflicted by using computers, cell phones, other electronic devices. Bullying is illegal. You cannot do it in Kentucky. If you bully somebody, you can go to jail. You can get suspended. Your parents can go to jail. There's going to be harm that's going to be imposed upon you. And so if you're a school official and you hear about bullying and you don't give a shit, you're a part of the fucking problem, because you're a goddamn bully yourself. That's why you can't hear, you don't understand when someone else is being a bully. When the teacher says, all right, everybody shut up, sit down, somebody else is politely talking, and then one of the students, hey, the teacher said to shut up and sit down. That's bullying. That's bullying. They're yelling at them, what I got to do with the hell you say? Who the fuck are you? And then that's the thing. The slaves are more likely to stand up against each other, but they won't actually go against massa. And maybe that's the fear. You start respecting the students. They might have solidarity, and they might say, hey, we don't like the dictatorship. We want control of our future. We want control of our curriculum. We want control of where we sit and who we talk to. We should not be manipulated. Our behavior shouldn't be told what to do. You cannot impose your will upon us. We have a will to power too, and our will to power says we will stand up and we will not be afraid. Our moral will needs to be strong. There's no moral will anymore. It's just do good for good's sake. That's the way it should be. But if people don't act like that, somebody with the moral will says, hey, stop acting that way. Stand up for yourself. So Kentucky's anti-bullying legislation, KRS 158-156, was codified in 2008 after the passage of House Bill 91. This legislation requires the Kentucky Department of Education to provide guidance to local school districts to assist with the implementation of the law at the local level. Additionally, the legislation requires that model policies, bullying, code of conduct, supervision of students be provided to school districts. Kentucky also has relevant laws against harassment, 525.070, and cyberbullying or harassing communications, 525.080. So there's plenty of anti-bullying legislations, and so this also goes to the parents. If you're a parent of a kid who's getting bullied and you don't know what to do, or you're beating the shit out of your kids, of course you wouldn't give a shit. But if you're a loving parent who actually cares, then you could go and enforce the law. Go to the school officials, go to the police, file a complaint. File a complaint so that it stops. So that way when your kid shoots themselves, they say, why didn't you do nothing? No, we did something. We went to the school officials. They didn't do shit. And they should be fired. And they should be kicked out of this region because they don't give a shit about us. And why does that happen? Why don't the parents know about this stuff? Why don't they know? Well, they weren't told to stand up for themselves. They weren't told to stand up for their kids either. And so, who's to blame for that? The fucking education system. If the education system was doing what they're supposed to be doing, we wouldn't have the low turnout rates. We would have more debates. People wouldn't be, accepting all this fucking bullshit. Instead, you get, Mary Beth Flynn, Wilson Herndon, Julie Chancellors, Elizabeth Rogers, Lynette Tillys, who the fuck ever. You get all these fucking assholes who, are mean girls and they're shitty to everybody else and they don't give a shit about anybody else. They're not educating you. They're not teaching you the stuff that you need in order to be empowered. And because they never told the parents to stand up for themselves, the parents, or the civics or their, that's how you make somebody good. You give them the power, that's the true test of character is giving them power. And you know what? You might give somebody power initially and they might just totally mess it up. But what if you give it to them, and you watch and you see and you eventually work out and they can do something better. So that's the true test of character. That's Abraham Lincoln, is you give somebody power. And since we're not empowering people, we're teaching them to be submissive and obedient, compliant, and they expect that if they're just good people, the world's supposed to act in the way that it's supposed to act. Not the case, not true. Okay? So there are laws on the books, right? KRS 158.156, KRS 525.070, KRS 525.080. So the anti-bullying legislation is right here. And it says that if there's any felony offense specified in KRS 508, so felony offense, right? So what's a felony? I don't know what they're considering felonies these days. It could be anything, but let's the big four evils. Can we make stealing, raping, hitting, and murder? Can we make those felonies? Come on, y'all. We got all these goddamn laws. They passed it all over the place. There's two different constitutions. They've gutted out the Constitution. There's no way even lawyers ain't reading all this shit. There's no way that they're actually paying attention to all this stuff. So really, we need a constitutional convention. But until that day happens, we have to, we got to go by our own set of moral, values and cores. And the golden rules, you don't do to others as you have them doing to yourself. If you're sitting there peacefully reading a book or tilling the field or doing whatever you're doing, do you want people to come up and just start messing with you, just start picking on you, just start bullying you for no reason? And if you don't want that to happen to you, why would you do that to somebody else? Why do you do that to somebody else? Do you not have a soul yourself? You don't know how to just, be happy and do your own thing? You don't know how to... Why don't you find a damn hobby, bully? Hey, bully, all you fucking bullies out there, get a fucking hobby. Stop picking on people. That's so fucking fun just to pick on people. Get a fucking hobby. So any employee of a school or local board of education who knows there is reasonable cause to believe that a school student has been a victim of a violation of any felony offense specified in KRS Chapter 508 committed by another student while on school premises, on school-sponsored transportation, or at a school-sponsored event shall immediately cause an oral or written report to be made to the principal, the school attended by the victim. The principal shall notify the parents, legal guardians, or other persons exercising custodial control or supervision of the student when the student is involved in an incident reportable under the section. The principal shall file with the local school board and the local law enforcement agency or the Department of Kentucky State Police or the county attorney within 48 hours of the original report a written report containing the names and the addresses of the student and his parents. So they're making you go through the rigmarole, but fuck it. If somebody's being bullied, do you want your kid to fucking blow their heads off? Or would you rather, their names be shared with Kentucky State Police and the county attorney and everybody else? Everybody needs to be notified that your kid's a fucking bully. There are people that did bully me when I was younger. They're fucking assholes. But surprisingly, the bullies actually do okay in life because they have, they show some power for themselves. So they only know how to bully people. They don't know how to fucking properly interact with people, but they know how to show power for themselves. So therefore, they're able to get into the positions that they want to get into. But it's the people who get bullied are the ones that have issues in life. At no point does anyone say, stand up, be proud, care about who you are, do the right thing. It's obedience, and when you teach obedience, there is no morality. Morality is off the table. Morality is doing what is right and good, regardless of who tells you, and obedience is just doing as the fuck as you say. Well, am I supposed to do what this person says, what that person says? Everybody's supposed to just tell me what to fucking do, and I'm supposed to go do it, and that's just what's supposed to be good for my life? Bullshit. Other people don't give a shit about me, not as nearly as much as I give a crap about myself. So you need to make people capable and strong enough to make their own decisions, so that way they're able to stand up for themselves and do what is right, So the principal shall file with the local school board and the local law enforcement agency or the Department of Kentucky. There's the whole thing about what happens, but that's what happens when bullying happens, right? You report it, and then it goes down the line. You report it, and then there's a whole protocol that you're supposed to follow. It gets to the county attorney, the local law enforcement, the local police, the Kentucky State Police. Everybody knows that your fucking kid is a bully. And why is your fucking kid a bully? Is it because you're a bully? You're an asshole? You don't know how to assert yourself? Right? There's a range of how we're supposed to interact with each other. There's passive, and you just take all the world's bullshit. There's violent, right? You just explode and say, fuck all y'all. And then there's being peacefully and tactfully assertive. That's the goal. That's the goal. You get them to where they can assert themselves. They love themselves enough. They say, no, I don't deserve this, and I don't like it. I don't appreciate you doing this to me. You need to stop doing this to me. And you know what? That might be the first time the bully ever heard of it. That might be the first time a bully ever heard that, hey, stop picking on me. Why are you picking on me? I didn't realize I was picking on you. I'm sorry. You want to talk about the Mets? You want to talk about what books you read? You want to talk, what the fuck? How come you're in school? Why don't we educate each other? Why don't we teach each other? Why is that not being taught? Let's teach each other. I know some scientific stuff. You know some scientific stuff? Good. Let's get together and let's teach each other. But no, we don't teach people to respect each other enough to where they teach each other. It doesn't happen amongst adults. It doesn't happen at all. And look at the political establishment. Adults don't even know how to fucking get along with each other, let alone the kids. One of the most popular books in school is A Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And it's basically about a kid who gets bullied all the time. He's got one, brother who gets in trouble all the time, never gets in trouble. He's got an older brother, picks him on him all the time, and he's just like, fuck, what the hell? Anytime he tries to stand up for himself, it always comes back on his face. And so, I'm not for sure. I haven't read the entire thing, but I think that this would appeal to people who feel as they have no power. If they have no power, if they feel like they're powerless, that's why they're doing the things that they're doing. And you think by, making sure people have no power. I mean, seriously, we make kids raise their hands when they're 18-year-old just to go to the restroom. And then as soon as they graduate, they're supposed to make, incredibly difficult financial decisions for themselves. They sign up for a military. They go off to war. What the fuck? This is some real life shit. And you're treating them like fucking stupid ass children. And that's why they're going to act like stupid ass children. The students will rise to your expectations. Treat them like stupid asses, they'll be stupid asses. Treat them like smart, capable, intelligent people, they will rise to be smart, intelligent, individual, capable people. The last thing I want to talk about, the last newsworthy thing I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about this other educational standard. There's a Montessori educational standard. Sugata Mitra says education is self-emergent and self-organizing. And then Reggio Emilia. Reggio Emilia is self-led homeschooling, and it's a movement that started out in Italy. And there's many Montessori schools. There's many Reggio Emilia. I've already talked about Sudbury, Summerhill schools, and black schools, and the other ones, the Waldorf. So Ray Etheridge, just as a kid in Louisville. So Louisville, he's going to Louisville public schools. Look at him, all cheesing, all smiling, just happy, right? He's homeless. Ray Etheridge has no home to go to. Poor guy. He sees a little scraggly or whatever with his hair. He's got the buzz cut. Oh, just cut it all off, right? And but he just seems, young, innocent, happy, just like the girls that we just saw. They just look like they, bright-eyed and look like they're gonna take on the world. They're doing well in school. They're doing as they're told. They're behaving well. They're smiling. They're happy to be there. The world should be Ray Etheridge's oyster. But instead, he was homeless. And then one day, this fucking psycho here, right here on the top right, he just fucking kills him. He's a homeless guy too. Wears like some weird fucking bodysuit or some shit. And admits to kill him. Yeah, I fucking killed him. But my point is that he's does what he's supposed to do. Trusted in the school officials, but they didn't give a shit about his home life. They didn't give a shit that he was fucking homeless. You're gonna sit there and teach this motherfucker about U.S. history, math, science, and all this other shit, thinking that that's going to help the homeless kid? I think, how about just teaching him to go get some fucking apples, go get some shit. I remember, oh my God, there's one teacher. Oh, forget her name right now, but she was teaching a Latin class in Seneca High School. She was a shithead. She was an absolute fucking asshole. Shut up, do as I say. And then I made a joke or made a comment about like homeless people or some shit. And she's like, oh, you shouldn't say. I wasn't making fun of them or something, but I was, sort of, something about money. I was talking about money and pennies, the Canadian penny and the American penny or something. And it was like, oh, it's just a penny. Who cares? Well, a homeless person would like it. And well, I'm not homeless. Okay, well, that's good for you. So I wasn't making fun of homeless, but I mentioned it. And you're not allowed to mention it, she says. Reichmuth, Janet Reichmuth. So this fucking piece of shit, all right? She's sitting there like, listen to my Latin. Latin's a dead fucking language, you dumb fuck. But everybody's got to fucking listen to that piece of shit, right? She's the authority figure. Just do as the fuck as she says and learn a bunch of, dead languages that isn't going to help them ever in life. And she's like, hey, don't mention homeless. We got homeless students. Why the fuck don't you give a fuck about the homeless students? Giving them an apple or something? You think that's all you can do? No, the school's in the center of the community. If the school actually gave a shit about elevating people, they would look around, and if people don't have the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that came out in like 1943, I think. So we've seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the last 70 years. But nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. These teachers don't give a fuck. They get money. They got power. Fuck everybody else, right? They doing that for their own damn career. They don't give a shit about anybody. So you have Maslow's hierarchy of needs just says, what is it that humans need in order to live? And so in the very beginning, we need food, water, clothing, right? The basics, warmth, shelter. We need those types of things. And then afterwards, we need safety. He wasn't safe. He didn't have food. He had the first two bottom things. And then love and belonging. As soon as they found out that this kid died, they found out that his father was like wanted for something, then they arrested him. So what do you think about the mother with the kids? Homeless mother, bunch of kids, dad just got arrested, son just got fucking killed, and that's what we do. Oh, hey, grieving family, wait a second, there's a warrant out for your father, something for not paying something, some small infraction, he goes to fucking prison, right? Nobody gives a shit, nobody cares. He goes to school thinking the teachers give a shit about him. If you just do that, good boy, you did what you're supposed to do, right? You shut your mouth and we didn't have to care about you. Good, we're fucking selfish bastards, right? That's what the teachers are saying. So when Chris came in, me and Knotts and John Booth had killed themselves, there's people that's protesting the schools. And I heard people, oh, quit your bitching, stop your bitching. No, there's something very fucking wrong. It's a totalitarian fascist system. They're not teaching the people to actually be friends. They're not creating networks and contacts. And they're not giving the information. You should meet the student where they're at, right? You should meet the student where they're at. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, let's see, it says food, water, clothing, then safety, and then it says love and belonging, then it says self-confidence, and then it says self-actualization. Then you can start to go towards what it is that you actually want to achieve in this world. Self-actualization being the top. But until you have everything below Maslow's hierarchy of needs, none of that other shit matters. So until you have food, water, clothing, safety, love and belonging, and self-confidence, none of the other shit matters. They didn't give a shit that this kid was homeless. He didn't even have the basic fucking, things that he needed to survive at the, bare minimum. He didn't have the very bottom rung. And he didn't have anything else. He didn't even have safety and security. He didn't have, maybe they loved them as much as they could, but if they're poor and powerless and homeless, they don't give a shit. They didn't give a shit. Louisville schools did not give a crap about this kid. And it's evident. Just look at the Valley High School. The fucking chemistry teacher was like, shut the fuck up and listen to what I'm saying. Shut your damn mouths. That's all they care about. Shut your damn mouths. The students should be empowered. They should be allowed to stand up for themselves. They shouldn't go around bullying. Look at this t-shirt. Ray has his dates. And he just, I think it was either this year or last year. Ray Etheridge. So R.I.P. Ray Etheridge. R.I.P. Miranda Campbell. R.I.P. Harley Reagan Carter. R.I.P. Emily Grace Olson. R.I.P. Chris Kimmin. R.I.P. Mia Knotts. R.I.P. John Booth. And even if they did things wrong, I think it's just because I remember, in the suicides that happened in the county I grew up in Kentucky, that one of the kids was a bully. He was a bully. The other ones I think were actually pretty passive and quiet. And that's why they had friends. People liked them. But one of them was the parents didn't give a shit. Actually, all of them was probably the parents didn't give a shit. But one of them was a bully. He was a bully. And I was like, I didn't feel no pain because I was like, well, the bully took care of himself. But, I think a sign of maturity is if a homeless person is sitting there cussing you out and shit, and you're like, well, how dare you disrespect me? Don't you know who I am? How dare you disrespect me? Like you're just some big head honcho and shit, and you're going to get pissed off about some petty offense when he's living out in the goddamn streets in the fucking gutter. So I think a sign of maturity is when you see somebody being a dickhead, is that you look beyond the veil. You look behind the curtain, you see what the hell's going on. And guess what? It's Oz. Oz is controlling the whole thing. It's just a short little man. He's not a big fucking god. He ain't nobody. And then once you see that it's just Oz controlling the whole fucking thing, you say, look, Oz, you need to fix this shit and make it better. So that's what we need to do in our societies. That's to make it better. So whereas one of these kids who killed themselves had bullied me, I wonder what was behind that. He could have been bullied himself. He could have had, he was an incredible golfer. He could kill a golf ball, like shoot it out like 100 miles and shit. Just fucking crush the shit out of it. And yet, he felt like there was no way out. There was no hope for himself and said, fuck it. There's also the Leela, right? That transvestite girl who killed herself, stepped in front of a truck and trailer. She said, fuck it, my parents will never love me. They're too Christian. They said that, God doesn't make mistakes. And they don't care about me, so to hell with it all. I'm just going to fucking kill myself. Steps out in the middle of the interstate. The truck driver fucking runs her over, and now she's dead. PTSD, the soldiers are coming back home, and they're fucking killing themselves in droves. So they're actually more likely to kill themselves than to die in war. You know, none of the so-called enemies, not ISIS, not Iraqis, not the terrorists or the Taliban or Osama bin Laden, none of them are killing the American soldiers as much as the American soldiers are killing themselves. There's a problem. There's a big issue. That's another thing that suicides show, is that there's a break in society. Why did this shit happen? It didn't have to happen. Why did nobody give a fuck about Ray Etheridge? You know, he's what, 10 years old or so? So that means he went to school for 5 or 6 years, had what, 4 or 5 teachers every year? 4 or 5 teachers, 5 or 6 years? What is that, 25 teachers that came into Ray Etheridge's life and said, oh, you're homeless? I don't give a shit. Oh, you're homeless and you're struggling? Fuck off. Do my work and my homework and get the fuck out of my class. I don't want to see your stupid ass smiling face. You little boy just sitting there smiling thinking what, the world is your oyster? Right? The fucking teachers are all pissed off at their own life and their own fucking situation. They're like, these damn kids, I hate myself. Why did I do this? You know, this is America. We gotta be more sensible than this stupid shit. This shit doesn't make any fucking sense. So, okay, Ray Etheridge, R.I.P., buddy. So let's talk about Let's talk about Montessori and Reggio Emilia. The Reggio Emilia approach is an educational philosophy focused on preschool and primary education. It was developed by Loris Malaguzzi, who was a teacher himself, and the parents of the villages around Reggio Emilia in Italy after World War II. So Reggio Emilia is just a city. After such a great and destructive event, people believed that children were in need of a new way of learning. The assumption was that people form their own personalities during the early years of development, which they do. And moreover, that children are endowed with 100 languages, which they have. All people have 100 languages. There's 100 ways every person can express themselves through, physical performances, right? What's that? Where they just, in performance art. I'm going to answer your question by doing a dance. You can do sign languages. You can do different languages. You can type. You can write. You can have artists. You could sing, make a play. There's so many ways. You can communicate with the whole world. And Reggio Emilia says that there's 100 languages that children have. 100 languages, and yet Emily Grace Olson couldn't find one way to speak about her issues that make her situation better. Ray Etheridge couldn't say nothing about their situation to make it better. Leela and Harley Reagan Carter, none of them had any of the languages that they needed to be able to say, this shit is bullshit, and I don't feel like there's any fucking hope for me. There's no goddamn hope for me. And y'all want to sit there and say y'all know what's going on, tell me shut up, do as y'all say, be obedient, and that's the problem. That's the fucking problem. They don't want them to say that shit because they don't want to fucking look at their own goddamn ugly ass fucking selves. An oppressor has to control somebody. They've got to turn them into an object to be manipulated. The only way an oppressor can love somebody is when they turn them into a fucking object to be manipulated. The program is based on the principles of respect, responsibility, and community through exploration and discovery in a supportive and enriching environment based on the interests of the children through a self-guided curriculum. Self-guided curriculum. Listen to this stuff. They get to choose their own curriculum. They get to choose what they want to. You're damn right. And if you're a good teacher, you can make them curious about your subject material. If you're not a good teacher, then you'll just say, shut up and do as I tell you. Right? Julie Chancellor's sitting there talking about how great the banks are and shit. So, poor Ray Etheridge don't even fucking have a home. And he's supposed to say, well, at least them bankers are taking care of us. I'm so glad the bankers are making good decisions for all of us. Now, there's an apple peel. Hey, I found an apple peel in a fucking garbage can. Yay for me. Right? Worshipping all these fucking oppressor, these fucking, these great, supposedly great fucking men. Kiss my ass. The second Gilded Age we're living in right now. 1970s, the Malaguzzi's method was known and appreciated by many educators, especially thanks to the first exhibit opened in Sweden at the Modern Museet in Stockholm. Meanwhile, in Italy, the National Group for Work and Study on Infant Toddler Centers were formed. May 24th, 1994, the nonprofit organization Friends of Reggio Children International Association was founded to promote the work of Loris Malaguzzi and organize professional development and cultural events. So this is just how the philosophy. The city is worldwide recognized. It's recognized worldwide for its innovative approach to education. Its name comes from the city itself. The key word of this method is to foster education from the tender age, promoting the best possible integration among children's languages, which, as Loris That's not really a key word, but as Loris Malaguzzi said, are 100 or more. So that's the key approach, is at the 100 language. In this approach, the belief is that children have rights, should be given opportunities to develop their potential. Children are believed knowledge bearers, so they're encouraged to share their thoughts and ideas about everything they can meet or do during the day. The Reggio Emilia philosophy is based upon the following set of principles. Children must have some control over the direction of their learning. Children must be able to learn through experiences of touch and move and listening and observing. Children have a relationship with other children and with material items in the world that children must be allowed to explore. Discovery. Let their curiosity, guide their education. If you're curious about something, you'll want to learn about it forever. If they crush that curiosity, hey, I want to learn about science. Shut up. Shut up and just do this goddamn science homework. Shut up and do this science fucking packet. I want to learn about math. Shut your mouth and do these fucking algebra problems over and over and over again. Well, now I hate the subject. Now I hate math. Now I hate science. Y'all didn't teach me shit. Fuck y'all. Yeah, but they don't actually get to that part, right? That part actually didn't happen. So the children must have control over the direction of their learning. They must be able to learn through experiences, moving, touching, listening, observing. Children have a relationship with other children and material items in the world that children must be allowed to explore. Children must have endless ways and opportunities to express themselves. Endless ways and opportunities. The Reggio Emilia approach to teaching young children puts the natural development of children as well as the close relationships that they share with their environment at the center of its philosophy. The foundation of the Reggio Emilia approach lies in its unique view of the child. In this approach, there's a belief that children have rights and should be given opportunities to develop their potential. Influenced by this belief, the child is beheld as beautiful, powerful, competent, creative, curious, full of potential, and ambitious desires. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. To be an oppressor, they're just an object to be manipulated. The Reggio Emilia approach says that they're good, powerful, beautiful, competent, creative, curious, full of potential, and ambitious desires. That's everybody. And we're not teaching the students this shit. We're not teaching it that way. 100% compliance. That's what the fuck they're learning. It comes from Prussia. Prussia doesn't exist. Prussia give us the fucking Nazis. That's the education system. American education system comes out of Prussia. It's a three-tiered system, and it was created to maintain the social inequality. It doesn't actually give them opportunities. It doesn't elevate anybody. It's not helping people. Not the masses, not the majority of people. Not teaching us how to treat each other better. It's not giving us the skills and trades we need to succeed. It's not doing it. The people will succeed if they're already in a rich family. They will not succeed if they're in a poor family. That's the best indication. It doesn't fucking matter about the school. The school doesn't fucking help. It doesn't detract or take away from what they are. This role also extends to that of a researcher. Much of the instruction at Reggio Emilia schools takes place in the form of projects where they have opportunities to explore, observe, hypothesize, question, and discuss to clarify their understanding. This is just amazing. Reggio Emilia approach is incredible. The children are also viewed as social beings, and focus is made on the child in relation to other children, the family, teachers, and the community, rather than on each child in isolation. Educators have to make children aware that respect for their similar is important because everyone is a legal subject and a part of the group. So respect for everybody. My God, that's fucking incredible. You know what? How can you be bullying when everybody's respecting each other? And if bullying does happen, it gets called out. You love yourself enough that you're not going to let yourself be called and be a bully. And if you don't like cussing, you can just tell somebody to buzz off, right? Buzz off. Get out of my face. Well, I'm not in your face. I'm not in your face now, am I? Cartman, you fat fucking piece of shit. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, you low-life fucking bullying motherfucker. What the fuck is your problem? No, what the fuck is your problem? You gotta be such a fucking asshole. Huh? Now tell the world, you want to pick on someone smaller than you? Why? I don't know. Oh. People will be like, oh, you can't say that. Don't talk to my kid. I guarantee the fucking parents will be like, hey, don't you bully my kid. Your kid's a fucking bully. And they learn it from you. Are you bullying him? Telling him to shut up and smack him around? Right? Like poor Nelson on fucking Simpsons. This fucking, he has no dad. His fucking mom's all fucking poor and shit. What the fuck else does he know? If his mom's being a controlling, manipulative fucking asshole, he's gonna go around being a controlling, manipulative asshole, and he'll get in trouble for it. Child abuse is okay. Fuck you all. Y'all a bunch of dumb, ignorant, fucking psychopathic pieces of shit. This Mexican was sitting there telling me, a Hispanic man, I think he's a Mexican, he was sitting there telling me that black people, the problem with black people is they need a whooping. Their parents need to spank them. Well, news fucking flash. Black people are beating the fuck out of their kids just like white people are. News fucking flash. Y'all ain't no fucking different. Jesus Christ. Reggio Emilia was founded by Loris Malaguzzi, right, in Italian. They said the game and the work, the reality and fantasy, science and imagination, heaven and earth, reason and dream are things and they're not together. And they tell us that the 100 isn't there. The 100 languages, I guess. The child says the 100 is there. So Loris Malaguzzi was born in Reggio, February 23rd, 1920. He graduated in pedagogy at the University of Urbino. In 1940, he began teaching in primary schools from 1941 to 1943 in Solagno, a village near Reggio Emilia in the municipality of Villa Minozzo. In April 1945, adheres to the ambitious project of a group of ordinary people, peasant and worker, who in a small country village near Reggio. Okay, so here's lots of shit, biography, right? If you want to learn more about them, you can just Google it yourself. Malaguzzi firmly believes that the children learn not automatically follow from a linear relationship of cause and effect between teaching processes and results, but is largely the work of the children themselves, their activities, and the use of resources of which are equipped. The children always play an active role in the construction and acquisition of knowledge and understanding. Learning is a process, then surely is self-constructive. So that's a constructive worldview, right? We all construct our own worldview, so how the fuck can you impose your worldview on mine? The school is compared to a construction site and a permanent laboratory where the research processes of children and adults are intertwined so strong, living and evolving daily. The main objective is therefore to make a lovely school where there are good kids, families, and teachers, where the aim of education is not to produce, but produce learning conditions. Right? You have a learning conditions. Here's a learning community, a learning world. Now go learn. What are you learning about? This thing? Cool. Now you have, human interaction, and you'll want to keep on learning. In schools of Malaguzzi, the closest attention to the aesthetic self, as there is the belief that there is also an aesthetic of knowing. The argument is that in the enterprise to learn and understand, there is always, consciously or not, a hope that we can achieve, and we would like to appeal to others. Malaguzzi introduced the atelier in the school. If he could have replaced the old school type with the school made up of studios and workshops, places to children's hands doing the mess, they could converse with the mind as it is in the biological laws and evolutionary. Malaguzzi can be considered a movementista pedagogy, daily watch to children, comparing their knowledge and theories with real children, that is playing, learn, work, and grow, struggle to get extension services with qualification of the pedagogical work. In conclusion, one can summarize the thought of Loris Malaguzzi, remembering that privileged. This was written in Italian, so if there's like some small, English mistakes, it's because the Google Translate isn't perfect, right? But anyways, primary attention to the child, not the subject. You care about the child first, and the subject comes later. Transversality and cultural knowledge divided into sectoral manner. The design, not the program, the process, and not only the final product, the process. Yeah, that's how you make great people. You build habits of greatness. They do great things all the time, and then eventually, bam, they get lifted up. Preparation and opportunity. That's what Lucille Ball, that's how she says. So prepare, get strong, bam, now you're needed. Now you're a fucking astronaut. Observation and documentation of individual group processes, comparison, discussion of some of the successful strategies of the formation, self-training of teachers. Malaguzzi said the kids build their own intelligence. Adults must provide them with the organization and the context, and above all, must be able to hear. Are you listening? Are you listening? The smartest motherfucker that said anything about the Columbine massacres was Marilyn Manson. And they said, what do you want to say about this incident that happened? He says, well, I don't want to say anything about it. I wish I would have been there to listen. And that's the problem, because nobody wants to listen. That's why they, that's why people fucking snap. That's why they fucking go ape shit. That's why they say, fuck this world, I don't give a shit. And, suicidal people, I guess in some respects, they could have hurt other people. When you're in that state of mind, you don't even care about your own life. You could have hurt other people. Instead, they chose to hurt themselves. So I'm not going to say like it's courageous, like, you know, stand up and kill yourself. I'm not going to say that, but I'm not going to insult and piss on the dead either. You know, whatever they were being tormented with. This is America, the greatest country, most prosperous. Why the fuck is this shit happening? If all that shit is true, why the fuck is that happening? And there's a lack of love. There's a lack of understanding. They can't communicate, and their communication isn't changing anything. And the people around them are not saying just solve it yourself. Stand up, be strong, solve this situation yourself. Only you're your best ally. You are your own best ally. You're the captain of your own ship. You're the star in your own movie. So you need to not be bullied, not let fuckers do shit to you. I mean, is that how you want your own movie to go? You went someplace, they are mean to you, then you went someone else and they are mean to you there. And when did you stand up for it? When did you say this is enough and this bullshit? There was a dog that was barking at me, fucking came running into my land, and I yelled at it. And then it kind of looked nervous and shit. And then I was like, I threw a stick. I had a stick in my hand. I threw it. And it still was looking at me. And it's a big, mean bulldog. And I'm like, oh, shit. Motherfucker should have already ran by now. What the fuck? And then I took a step towards him, and then he ran, okay? And it felt good. I know it was just a fucking dog or whatever, but it was kind of like, what the fuck, dog? You're on my land. You're half my fucking size. You look mean as fuck, so, you know, but I'm not about to fucking run, because I know as soon as I run, you'll be fucking chasing me on my own goddamn property. I ain't going to be chased away. And that's the problem. People don't want people to be strong. They don't want them to tell the bullies what to do, because they don't want them to say, you know, hey, don't control me either. And when you actually engage in that honest dialogue, you'll see that there's lots of problems. Wonder, curiosity, capability. Here's a website for the Reggio Emilia way. Become a member. The child has 100 languages. 100 languages. And yet Harley Reagan Carter, Emily Grayson Olsen, Ray Etheridge, Miranda Campbell, Chris Kidman, Mia Knotts, John Booth, Leela. None of them had a way to fucking say, I need a better way. This shit ain't working. It needs to change. So there's resources. You can become a member. Curiosity, capability, the pleasure of learning and knowing, understanding is one of the most important basic feelings that every child expects from the experiences he confronts alone with other children or with adults. It is a crucial feeling which must be reinforced so that the pleasure survives even when reality may prove that learning, knowing, and understanding involve difficulty and effort. In this very capacity for survival, that pleasure is transformed into pure joy. So here's all the Reggio Emilia places. Lots in Italy, lots in America, lots of places in America. Look at it. It's all over America. Reggio Emilia is. You see all them blue dots? See all them blue dots in Italy? And I guess maybe these are schools or programs or something. I don't know. So ReggioAlliance.org. 34 countries, 100 languages, 50,000 educators, 50,000 children. Join NARIA. I guess that's the National Alliance of Reggio Emilia Association or something. Montessori is also like this, but I'm kind of getting a little drained, so I think I'm going to take a little break here shortly. But the ReggioAlliance.org is there's the schools here, a website of all the different schools. Reggio children. Let's see what is the Reggio Emilia approach. In the very top it says child-led homeschooling. The Reggio Emilia approach is originated in the town and surrounding areas of Reggio Emilia in Italy out of a movement towards progressive and cooperative early childhood education. It is unique to Reggio Emilia. It is not a method. There are no international training colleges to train to be a Reggio Emilia teacher. Outside the town of Reggio Emilia, all schools and preschools and homeschools are Reggio inspired, using an adaptation of the approach specifically to the needs of their community. So lots of people can be Reggio inspired, but how they do it in Reggio, Italy is going to be different than how they do it in Bardstown, or how they do it in Hudson, or how they do it in, you know, Litchfield. So this is important as each student, teacher, parent, community, and town are different. No two Reggio-inspired communities should look the same, as the needs and interests of the children within each community will be different. Typically, the Reggio approach is applied to preschools and early childhood settings. But I think with an understanding of the general principles, this inspiring child-led approach can be adapted to the home as well. So there's some fun projects. Children are capable of constructing their own learning. They are driven by their own interests to understand and know more. Children form an understanding of themselves and their place in the world through their interactions with others. There's a strong focus on social collaboration, working in groups where each child is an equal participant, having their thoughts and questions valued. The adult is not the giver of knowledge. Children search out the knowledge through their own investigations. Children are communicators. Communication is a process, a way of discovering things, asking questions, using language as play, playing with sounds and rhyme, delighting in the process of communicating. Children are encouraged to use language to investigate and explore, to reflect on their experiences. They are listened to with respect, believing that their questions and observations are an opportunity to learn and search together. It's a process, a continual process, a collaborative process. Rather than the child asking a question and the adult offering the answers, the search is undertaken together. The environment is the third teacher. The environment is recognized for its potential to inspire children. An environment filled with natural light, order, and beauty. Open spaces free from clutter where every material is considered for its purpose. Every corner is ever evolving to encourage children to delve deeper and deeper into their interests. The space encourages collaboration, communication, exploration. The space respects children as capable by providing them with authentic materials and tools. The space is cared for by the children and the adults. The adult is a mentor and guide. Our role as adults is to observe our children, listen to their questions and their stories, find what interests them, and then provide them with opportunities to explore these interests further. The Reggio Emilia approach takes a child-led project approach. The projects aren't planned in advance. They emerge based on the child's interest. The 100 languages of children. Something about documenting children's thoughts. Carefully displaying and documenting children's thoughts and progression of thinking, making their thoughts visible in many different ways. Photographs, transcriptions of child's thoughts and explanations, visual representations, drawings, sculptures, all designed to show the child's learning process. Probably the most well-known aspect of the Reggio Emilia approach, the belief that children use many, many different ways to show their understanding and express their thoughts and creativity. 100 different ways of thinking, discovering, learning through drawing and sculpting, through dance and movement, through painting and pretend play, through modeling and music, and that each one of these 100 languages must be valued and nurtured. These languages or ways of learning are all part of a child. Learning and play are not separated. The Reggio Emilia approach emphasizes hands-on discovery learning that allows the child to use all their senses and all their languages to learn. So Reggio Emilia, if you ain't with it, you need to get it with it. Promoting and defending children's rights. Children's rights? There ain't no children's rights. Shit, parents on this. I'm allowed to beat my kid because I own my kid like I own this coffee table. And if I want to set this coffee table on fire, that's a right that I have that God himself gave me. God himself gave me a right to set on fire my coffee table, and if I want to beat the shit out of my kid, I'm allowed to. Well, let's go back to the big four evils. Don't hit, don't rape, don't murder, don't steal. But if you're fucking hitting people, you ain't got no morality. You're willing to do any of that shit to your fucking kid. Shut your damn mouth and comply with me, bitch. And then you wonder why, after treating somebody like a bitch their whole fucking life, they say, fuck it, I have no way out of this. No. You should have just stood up for yourself. When the fuck did you say that? You never fucking said that. And if all the people around them, it never tells them to stand up for themselves, or that their situation is shitty, or that they need to get the fuck out, nobody empathizes with them. They will never fucking understand. They will never understand it. They will never come across these ideas by themselves. So that's Reggio Emilia. I'm going to take a break. Montessori. Maria Montessori is very similar. You know, follow the child. That's sort of her thing. Follow the child. The child wants to learn that. You follow them and you see where their interests are. You know, in terms of control, I think positive enforcement is one of the best ways to encourage somebody, right? If they're like, hey, Mom, I want to study, poop. If that's what you want to do. Okay, I'm going to go study poop. And then they say, hey, Mom, I want to study, space exploration. Whoa, you want to study space exploration? That I like that. Tell me all about this and listen and be curious. And they will go and study space exploration, not poop. Because you were positive about it. If you killed their interest or whatever, they'd be like, why doesn't she want me to study poop? And actually, you can study shit and find something out of it, right? Something, I don't know. Dinosaur, paleontologists, they learn something out of that type of studying. So anyways, Reggio Emilia, Montessori, Sugata Mitra. Let's start teaching our kids right. This is America. Why the fuck are we oppressing our kids? 100% compliance? Did we not learn from Hitler? We didn't, did we? We're the fucking empire. We didn't like Hitler because he was going to take our empire away from us. Is that what we're saying? There was that one guy that fucking stood up to Hitler. Even Hitler didn't want 100% compliance. But our teachers do. This is freedom. This is democracy. Fuck you.